Grief is a thin place. A place so thin it's hard to tell where earth ends and heaven begins. Grief is a place so thin that it's where the living and the dead feel one another's love. I'm Lisa Hamilton, an Episcopal priest, and I grieve. First, I'll read some scripture that many Christians use in worship during Lent. Then I'll struggle with those words through the lens of grief. I'm glad you've joined me. Today's scripture is from John, chapter 5. Jesus said of John the Baptist, "He was a burning and shining lamp, and you were willing to rejoice for a while in his light." Grief makes you think about light, doesn't it? I imagine my first husband, Scott, was living in the light by the time I awoke that June morning. We were holding hands, but Scott's was stiff. The only sound was a soft, useless whir of his oxygen tank. Scott's labored breathing was no more. Lung cancer, without ever having smoked a cigarette. Dead at 32. At first, I thought God had made Scott well. Wake up, you're well. I've never known fear like I knew when I realized Scott was dead. In the next room, our Teddy still slept in his crib. He was barely 2. He lived the rest of his life with a dad-shaped hole. I remember his pajamas had something about clean water on them, and I remember wondering how many tears, how much water he would shed. But I'm not sure Teddy actually did cry much. The day of Scott's funeral, he asked a family friend, "Who is Scott?" How could he understand saying goodbye to his Dada, whose love he'd known since before his birth? Teddy tried to play peekaboo with his Dada for a long time after, and once on a walk a few months after Scott had died, he broke free from my hand several times to run up to doors of homes in the neighborhood and knock. "Dada might be there," he explained. When Ted was 27, after struggles with addiction and all that entails, and now focused on becoming a therapist, engaged for one night, he took Imodium to calm the nerve pain that lingered from his past use of heroin and other opiates. We don't know how much he took, but it was too much. In the morning, his fiancée couldn't rouse him. God bless the EMTs who got his heart started, and God bless the doctors and nurses who tried to restart his brain. I imagined Ted finding the dad he couldn't remember emerging from the light and knowing him at last. I imagine them hovering in the hospital room that hellish and holiest of weeks. I wonder if they noticed that the room number was 313, Ted's birthday. I wonder if they wept with me, with those who came through room 313. I hope Ted had his dad's company when he got to the operating room where he would become an organ donor, as he designated he wanted to be on his driver's license. I had to say goodbye to Ted before he was taken to the operating room. As a little boy, Teddy liked to be what we called comfy cozy, all tucked in. I wrote about tucking the sheet around his feet for the last time in a letter I wrote to him after he died. That toenail you injured while building a treehouse was never the same, was it? But I kissed it all the same, remembering days of piggy rhymes, never thinking God would let it end with you. Your brain dead a week already, on a stretcher on the way to surgery, where you would give your body, like Christ, so others might live. I remember asking the nurse to wash your hands and face when it was over, asking everyone to be gentle with you, as life had not been gentle with you. Your dada leaving our starter house in a body bag, and you thinking he was playing peekaboo. Those steps away from Ted, down a hospital hall, out of room 313, into a world without Ted, were the most difficult steps I have ever taken. We live in the shadow of our loved one's light, the pure light of their existence. Will they take flight and shimmer away before we can reach them? Maybe, I hope, they're reaching for us. I've told this story before of the nightlight Ted gave me once in my Christmas stocking. Not long after he died, I woke up one morning, walked into the bathroom, and noticed that the shell part of the nightlight was lying on the counter. I picked it up to put it back in place, and I heard Ted say within me, "I found the light, Mom. Clear as day. I found the light, Mom." Grief is a thin place.